Hey, what is up, everybody? So this week we have a Packers versus Saints matchup at Lambeau Field, Monday Night Football. If the Packers win this game, they will have officially clinched a playoff spot. There is also a chance for the Packers to clinch a playoff spot before they play. If the Falcons lose and the Rams lose, the Packers are in the playoffs. If the Falcons lose and the Seahawks lose, the Packers would also be in the playoffs. So there's a chance before the game even starts, the Packers lock up a playoff spot. And with still 3 games remaining, it's a pretty good spot to be in, even though the Packers are still third place in the NFC North. And when we look at this Saints team, they've dealt with a lot of injuries, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Derek Carr is likely going to miss this game. The Saints have not, at this point, when I'm making this video, have not decided who their quarterback will be this week. Last week, they decided to go with Jake Haener to start the game. They benched him after the first half. They had around 38 offensive yards in the first half. So they said, this is not working. Let's put in 5th round rookie Spencer Rattler. And he came in and brought the Saints back in that game against the Commanders. They barely lost 20-19 because they went for a 2-point conversion. And I understand that situation. You want to go for the win, not give the Commanders a chance there. So they actually made it pretty close against the Commanders in that game. And I think for this Saints team, looking at lots of their overall numbers, they're pretty bad on both sides of the ball. But looking at the past 3 games, the Saints defense has been the 3rd best scoring defense in the NFL in the past 3 games. They lost to the Commanders barely. Commanders put up 20. They allowed 11 to the Giants, which is not hard to do considering how bad the Giants' offense is. And then they held the Rams to 21. And that Rams team, with Cooper Kupp healthy, with Puka Nacua healthy, that's a very good offense. So even though all in all the Saints defense this year has not been great, the past 3 games they have played really good football. They also had 8 sacks against the Commanders last week. Overall, they have the 14th best scoring defense in the league, 30th in yards per game allowed, 30th in yards per play. Was really held up this team, even though the 30th in yards per game allowed has been their red zone defense, which is the 8th best in the NFL. And so, as I said, looking at those overall numbers, you think the Packers should come in and dominate offensively. I still think they will. But you do need to take into account how good they have played in the past 3 weeks. And so far for the Packers, it's been a very good season. Jordan Love has once again started to heat up around mid-November, late November, going into December. And he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the past 4 weeks in the NFL. You look at his stats the past 4 weeks. He has a total of 7 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. That was a talk for a while before this hot streak he's been on was, can Jordan Love, fix his interception issue? Similar discussion to last year. And once again, as many people have brought up during Toyotathon, Jordan Love has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He has barely had any turnover-worthy plays. According to PFF, he has 2 turnover-worthy plays in the past 4 games, which is tied for 27th in the NFL. So he's done a very good job of not putting the ball in harm's way, which was the one thing you wanted to see from him to have confidence heading into playoff time. That was the one issue he was dealing with, and currently it has no longer been an issue. He currently has 23 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He currently has the 12th best passer rating in the NFL. And one of the biggest areas where Jordan Love has improved has been facing pressure. Early in the season, Jordan Love was struggling a lot when he was facing pressure. From weeks 1 through 10, this is per PFF, among quarterbacks with 20 attempts, he was 43rd in passer rating. And now in the past 4 games, with quarterbacks who have at least 20 attempts, he has the 5th highest passer rating when under pressure. I think a lot of that does have to do with Jordan Love dealing with injuries early in the year, dealing with the sprained MCL. When he came back, he was hobbling around for a few weeks. Then right after that, he deals with a groin injury. That made him hobble around for a few weeks. And he was still playing somewhat good football, but I think that a healthy Jordan Love is one of the best in the NFL when it comes to evading pressure, when it comes to escaping the pocket, when the pressure does get there. And we've really seen the stats show that with him being healthy, he has been very dominant. When we look at the Saints and their pass rush, they're 20th in pressure percentage at 32.5%, 12th in sacks. So an average pass rush. They did have 8 sacks last week, so they do have it in them to have big games. You look at the Packers pass rush so far this year, 10th best pressure percentage allowed in the NFL at 30.5%, and the second fewest sacks allowed at 16. So it's been good to see Jordan Love playing at a much higher level, way less interceptions. The Packers have really focused on the run a lot in the past month or so. And I was curious to see if Jordan Love has been taking less deep shots overall. And could that be a reason he has less interceptions? But no. In his past 4 games, he has attempted deep passes, which are passes 20-plus yards, 17.4% of the time per PFF. And in weeks 1 through 10, he attempted deep passes basically at the same rate at 17.1%, so a 0.3% difference. So it's not like Jordan Love has abandoned the deep ball, and that's why he's been cleaner with the football. He's just been making better decisions, putting the ball in better spots, and I think when you're healthy and you're not hobbling around, you're able to, plant your foot properly and have the proper foundation to make a lot of these throws. So that's a great sign for Jordan Love. And the Packers' rushing attack has been one of their strengths this year. 4th most rush yards per game, 7th in rush yards per play. Josh Jacobs has been dominant. 3rd most rush yards in the NFL at 1,147. And when you look at the Packers' offensive line, run blocking, I don't think they have been a elite type unit. If you look at rush yards per contact, or rush yards before contact per carry, they're 19th in the NFL. And so a lot of those yards are Josh Jacobs breaking a ton of tackles. And while I don't think the Packers' run blocking O-line is bad, they haven't been great. And then if we look at one area the Packers have really improved recently, it has been the red zone offense. A month or so ago, they were close to 27th in the NFL. They're currently 14th right now, and converting at 56.9%. And so that's been a good, uptick there from the red zone offense. And if we look at the past 4 games, the Packers have scored 30-plus in 4 straight games. So I expect it to continue this week, even though the Saints have played good defense the past few games. I don't think many defenses are able to handle or stop this Packers defense, and I do not expect the Saints to be able to stop the Packers defense. The Saints are 28th in pass yards allowed overall. They're also 27th in rush yards allowed, 30th in rush yards per play allowed. So I do think the Packers should be able to be effective passing, be effective rushing. I don't see that stopping in this game at home in Lambeau Field. The one area where the Packers will have a bigger test, as I said, is with the Saints and their red zone defense. But I expect the Packers to put up a lot of points in this game. Now, looking at the other side of the ball, the Saints are likely going to be without Derek Carr once again. I would expect Spencer Rattler to start. The Saints, as of this recording, have not named a quarterback yet. But considering they benched Haener after the first half and brought in Rattler, and he almost brought them back for a win, I would expect to see him out there unless Derek Carr comes out of nowhere and is healthy enough to play. But looking at that game, Rattler went 10 of 21 for 135 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, 84.4 passer rating. It was a okay game. He didn't have a pick. 10 of 21 isn't the greatest. He did have some nice plays in there. But I just think this Packers defense is good enough to stop offenses like this who have so many injuries. The Saints lost Chris Olave early in the year, Raheed Shaheed. They are potentially going to be without Alvin Kamara this week. That's unknown there with his injury he suffered this past game. I do think Kendre Miller, the backup there, is pretty good. He has 4.6 yards a carry, which is better than Kamara's yards per carry. So he's a pretty solid running back. But I just think with all the weapons that the Saints lost, also Taysom Hill, the Packers defense has been really good this year. The one area they have struggled has been against top-tier offenses. Some of the best offenses in the NFL have put up 30-plus on the Packers, but I do not see this as a top-tier offense. I think the Packers defense should be able to handle business. They're the 8th best scoring defense in the league, 10th in yards allowed, 9th in yards per play allowed. They are a little weaker against the pass and the run, 15th in pass yards allowed, but 9th in pass yards per play allowed. And last week against the Seahawks, allowed a total of 0 pass touchdowns, had 2 picks, 1 against Howell, 1 against Geno Smith. And I just hope to see Jair back sometime soon. It's been a while since we've gotten to see Jair out there. Now, honestly, in this game, I feel like this is a game you could say, let's just rest Jair one more week. I'm not sure how healthy he is. We'll probably get some updates sometime soon. Probably a little later today. We'll get our first update in a little while. But this is a game I think that if you're still Not sure about Jair. I don't think that this is a game you need to rush him back. If this was a team like the Vikings, I would say if he can play, put him in here. But I would say it's better to be safe with Jair this week if you still think he needs to take a little more time to rest against this beat-up Saints offense. And when we look at one of the bigger strengths this year, which has been a switch up from years past for the Packers, has been their rushing defense. Currently 9th in rush yards per game allowed at 105, 8th in rush yards per play allowed at 4.2 rush yards per play. And for years and years, the Packers' rush defense had been a bottom unit in the league, and that has changed this year under Jeff Hafley. And last week, we saw the Packers' pass rush come to life in a big way, sacking Geno Smith 7 times, Edgerrin Cooper getting a sack, Kingsley Enagbare, Rashawn Gary, a few other guys as well. And so right now, the Packers are 28th in pressure percentage from their defense, but they are 7th in sacks. So the Packers have done a good job overall. Sorry about that. Packers have done a good job overall of getting to the quarterback when it comes to sacks. There's been a few really big games. The game early in the year against the Titans, I think the Packers had 8 or so sacks. They had 7 against Geno Smith. But there are games where they sort of disappear. Like in the Lions game, didn't get much pressure. I think they had a total of 1 sack in that game. And so sometimes it's hit or miss. I do think it's been better as of late. But if that unit can get pressure at a higher rate, helps secondary and helps this defense overall. The Packers' red zone defense has not been great this year. 20th in the league in opponent touchdown conversion, allowing touchdowns 60% of the time. They have been very good when it comes to third down conversion percentage allowed, 35.67%. That's how often offenses have converted. So a really good third down defense. Hafley's very aggressive, likes to switch up the looks, and I think having Edgerrin Cooper back is going to take this Packers defense to another level. We saw it last week. He's just so explosive, so quick, so fast. He had the pick. He had the sack. He was one of the better players, if not the best player on defense this past week. So to have him back has been huge. And I think overall, this is a very good Packers defense. The question still in my mind is, can they play great football against some of the best offenses in the league? This week, we won't have an answer to that because this is not one of the best offenses in the NFL. So it should be a game here where I think the Packers dominate. I think at Lambeau Field on Monday night. Now, at any time, you can't, neglect the fact that a team could obviously come in and put up a fight, just like the Saints have done recently, especially against the Commanders last week. But I think this Packers team is head and shoulders better than this beat-up Saints offense, the Saints team overall. So I'm going to say the Packers win this game 31-17. I think the Packers should win by 10-plus points, sort of my take on this whole situation. If you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. You can comment your predictions in the comment section down below. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.